Hey, I'm Zane Gonzalez. You're watching the Harris Highlight Show.
Na 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 na.
From the Bill Austin Radio Studio at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication in beautiful downtown Phoenix. This is episode 4 of season 3 of the Harris Highlight Show. Joining me this week is our college football expert Josh Schaefer, our executive producer Brady Klain, and filling in for Lyle Goldstein this week is Arizona State football expert Brady Vernon. Brady's filling in for Lyle. Brady, welcome to the show this week, bud.
Hi.
He's deadpan. I love it.
Lyle is a little busy tonight, but I think he might be taking off after the L I handed him in fantasy football this past week, and he's probably just trying to adjust to it. Lyle, I feel for you, but it's okay. You're going to bounce back this week. You're playing BK this week, so he's got a chance to win.
He does have a chance to win.
He has a chance to win. Brady, you got to check out your lineup, bud, because
I put
he's
up
coming
175 points week 1, dog.
Hey, it doesn't matter, dude. It doesn't matter.
Come on.
But so we got Brady in house. We got 2 Bradys. So we got BV and BK to help us, because if someone says Brady, well, it's a 50-50.
I'm Brady for the show.
So he's Brady for tonight, and he's BV?
Yes.
Cool.
Or, we'll see. But guys, really quickly before we start, this week's episode is sponsored by The Ridge Wallets. The Ridge Wallet is a minimal front pocket wallet that's designed to let you ditch your bulky wallets. It comes in titanium, carbon fiber, aluminum, and a whole bunch of other cool stuff, and over a dozen different styles and colors. Don't carry around that loaded wallet anymore, because I'm sure you guys have that wallet that has all your gift cards, your credit cards, those receipts, like all that stuff that you've had for years.
Josh still has a big bifold wallet.
He has a huge one. So overall, it looks better, it weighs less, it keeps everything intact. Right now, I'm going to show on camera. It's this cool little wallet. Keep all your cards in here. Put the money in the back. This thing weighs it barely weighs anything. Josh,
Can I see it? Yeah.
Compare right here to your wallet.
Let's look. Wow, that's a big difference. See, here's mine, and it's fat, not because there's money in it. It's just fat because of the way it's made. But look at this.
Yeah, it's very light. It's very small.
Very nice.
And it's thing too. This thing.
How many colors?
12
colors?
Oh, there's a lot of colors. A lot of colors. And this thing, they say, will last you the rest of your life. You're not going to need a new one.
Why do you have a Dave & Buster's card?
Hey, man, I like Dave & Buster's. You got a problem with Dave & Buster's here?
No. I had my 10th birthday party there.
You had your 10th birthday party at Dave & Buster's?
Dave & Buster's is a great establishment.
Dude, every Wednesday, half-price games. MJ and I were there every Wednesday this past summer.
Who's MJ?
It's the past. Oh, you know who MJ is. Yeah, that's a good one. But guys, if you want to get the Ridge Wallet right now, head on over to ridgewallet.com/HH for 10% off your order and free worldwide shipping. So if you're listening in, Canada, or you're listening in, the United Kingdom,
Uzbekistan,
that place too, you can get free shipping. All right, now whoever's got the wallet, give it back, because I don't want you getting any smart ideas and taking my wallet. But guys, it is time to talk about some college football. But before we talk about college football, really quickly, I don't know if you guys saw this. I sent it in the group chat this past week. We had a fan that was at game day.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it wasn't that fan that reached out and said he was at game day. I was on YouTube, I was going through my comments, and someone commented saying, I just saw someone with a Harris highlight signed at college game day. And here I am going, okay, great, where? They actually knew where it was. They said right before they do the pick'ems, when they do like the
sweep, the sweep of the camera around the crowd.
When they do that, but it's like when they do those like specialty picks that do with like the spread.
Yeah.
So I found it, and I'm going through it, and it took me about 5 tries to find it. I don't know how this person saw it initially, because it happened so quick. I remember when I sent it to the group chat, you guys couldn't find it. Mm-hmm. So they somehow found it. So I posted on Twitter saying, yeah, this is the sign. hashtag who made it, hashtag what's it say, because we couldn't really tell what it said. And
You can only make out the word Harris
A
Highlights.
few hours later, someone responded saying, hey, that's me with the sign. The sign said, I called into the Harris Highlight Show, Season 2, Episode 4, and they went to game day, they went to the game. So we found the person that made the sign. They were there at game day. And shout out to the person that found that on TV, because...
Yeah, seriously.
What a keen eye, because I don't know, I guess I don't know how he found it, but he somehow did. But guys, also his name was Jake Harper. So Jake Harper, shout out to you, but also... The studio just went dark for BK in there.
I don't know
So now
what
he's
happened.
It's our show now.
I kind of like this. It makes me feel like more of a producer.
He's sitting in the dark. But guys, it's
He
time
really
to
is
talk
Batman
about
now.
the AP poll. Now, as we do every week, we go over the latest moves and whatnot on the AP poll. And oh boy, do I have a lot to say about this one. Josh, as always, I'll let you take the floor, bud. What are your thoughts?
You know, guys, I got to be totally honest. I don't hate it. I think that, I mean, just on the outside, for obvious reasons, you have Iowa and Boise State as the first two just on the outside. Iowa getting 64 votes, Boise State getting 62 votes. Ding, ding. I kind of like it. You know, ASU is still getting votes. It's unfortunate to see them fall out, but I'm sure we'll talk about that. I like seeing Boston College get in. I don't see a whole lot that I don't like. Wisconsin fell 12 spots, which I think is a little bit rough. Oklahoma State jumped up 9 spots for beating Boise State. But for the most part, I don't really hate it at all. I think they got the top 4 right, especially with Scotty falling out. Really, for the most part, I don't have a whole lot of problems with it.
Dude, shout out them Mormons. They got in the top 25. That's all that matters.
That's what I was saying. Shout out to BYU. Someone even asked me this past weekend. They were like, do you see BYU slipping in? And I thought, no way. But coming in at 25. Way to go, Mormons.
Should BYU be 24th, though, because Michigan State didn't even play a game this weekend?
That's true. I mean, Michigan State did move up one. That's always the thing where if you don't play a game, what do you do? With Michigan State, they were able to move up one. I don't know. I got no problem with it because at this point, 24, 25, does it really make a difference?
Yes, because
Oh.
it determines whether or not Texas is back.
Oh, that's true.
They're not back.
I don't know. They might be back, Josh. They covered
might
the
be
spread.
back. They did cover. SC's terrible against the spread.
You guys
I
are
don't know.
just terrible.
Whoa, who is you guys?
I don't want to hear it. They know.
We're
They already know.
we're ethical journalists here.
Ethics U at Arizona State.
Oh,
The thing
what
that I
they
want to
like
talk
know.
about really quickly, did anyone notice that there's no one ranked 11th in this AP poll?
Yeah,
There's just a
because
tie for 10th.
Penn State and Washington are tied
I always
at
hate
10th.
when they do that whenever
That's dumb.
whenever there's a tie right there. I personally don't like it.
You just pick one. It's like
I will say, I really like that 12-13 spot right now, that West Virginia, Virginia Tech, because I think those are just two blue blood football teams. So having them right in the middle of the pack is a really, really good spot for both of them, especially, I mean, West Virginia bumping up 2, Virginia Tech staying the same, but make one of them 11.
I think
Make one of them 11.
I
or
think
12.
it's good that we're finally seeing Florida State not get any votes anymore, and USC's not getting any votes either. So it's good to see two teams that were pretty overrated at the beginning of the season. I think Florida State is just a bad football team. I would like to think that SC is going to figure it out. I'm not saying they're going to figure it out the same way they did in 2016, where they played Sam Darnold and went all the way and won the Rose Bowl. But I think they'll figure it out and get back into the top 25. But man, I think they are cleansing the AP top 25, at least for right now, getting some of these teams out and not receiving votes that clearly don't deserve to be in.
I kind of want to talk about the two biggest jumpers, and the first one's Wisconsin. Wisconsin falls 12 spots, which I think is a bit harsh considering the fact that they literally put BYU in the top 25. So you're saying you lost to a top 25 team. I don't think you're worthy of falling 12. Now, one of the questions that a lot of people were asking for the Q&A was, does this hurt Wisconsin's chances at the college football playoff? I don't think it does, mainly because this was a non-conference game. I think they absolutely have to go undefeated in conference now for them to survive. But I think for Wisconsin, they're going to be fine because they have a lot of tough games ahead. But 12 spots, I mean, you have this team at 6, and you drop them 12 to 18 for a last-second field goal loss. I think that's a bit harsh. And the other one I want to talk about is Oklahoma State moving up 9 spots for winning a home game against Boise State. Now, I think last week, everyone except for BK, we all picked Oklahoma State. So a lot of people had Oklahoma State favored in this game. They did kind of run the table. BYU. Boise State, they scored first, but the rest of the game was Oklahoma State.
They had that crazy touchdown pass, too.
That was a nice one. But 9 spots, I think that's a little too much. In 2 weeks, Oklahoma State went from being unranked to 15th. That's a pretty big leap, and I'm not sure about that. And my other one that I want to talk about right now is LSU jumping up 6 spots. I think once we get into like our top 4 teams, we'll get more to that. But jumping 6, I I have no problem with that. I think putting them at 6, which is crazy because, 2 weeks ago, they were ranked 25th. So over the course of a few weeks, they went from 25 to 6. But overall, I mean, those are my only kind of tidbits. Clemson falls one, Georgia moves one, so they kind of flip-flop. I got no problem with that either. And pretty much looking near the back end, but this is the one that I really like to see, the Boston College at 23. Because a few weeks ago when we interviewed Lucas Dennis on the show, I kind of felt bad when we did that one question. And also, we're getting a caller right now. I don't even know who has the phone number because I didn't even promote it yet. But a few weeks ago when we had Lucas Dennis on the show, I kind of felt bad when we asked him the question. The one fan asked is, do you think Boston College is going to be able to compete this year in the ACC? And kind of in the back of my head, after I asked that question, of course he's going to say, oh yeah, we're going to be good. But I'm thinking, okay, I think, he got to say that. I think Boston College is probably going to be one of the middle tier teams. Boston College
pretty
now,
good.
At 23, they're undefeated. They've looked good. This is legitimately might be one of those sleeper teams in the ACC where, I personally was sleeping on them. You might have been sleeping on them. BV was definitely sleeping on them when he was taking his nap earlier today. One of those teams where they're coming out of nowhere, and I'm very interested to see how they do. I'm very interested to see.
I think A.J. Dillon is one of the top 3 running backs in college football right now. I mean, he's fantastic. I've been trying to get him from
doing the
BK
same
in
thing.
fantasy football. I mean, I think the guy's fantastic. And watching that Wake Forest Florida State game on Thursday night, or Florida State, oh my goodness, Boston College, similar colors. Boston College is way better though. But watching this BC Wake Forest game, you really got the sense of how good he was, because obviously there was a lot going on with this game. They bumped up kickoff time, so there weren't that many people there. But Wake Forest competed for a while in this game. I mean, we got a Joe Tessitore appearance in the crowd, decked out in BC gear. We saw the BC defense really excel for a while, and then we saw A.J. Dillon just light up that Wake Forest defense. He blasted through the front 7. I thought he looked really good. I think he's very underrated.
I missed everything you guys just said, so I'm not going to be a part of this conversation.
We're talking about your running back, A.J. Dillon, that's starting for your fantasy team.
He went off for me, dog.
I was reading a bunch of early Heisman predictions right now, and he's in a lot of people's top 10.
Yeah.
Kind of near the bottom half, mainly because it is for Boston College. But Boston College can keep winning games. I think he's currently, I know he's top 5 in rushing in college football. I'm not actually sure where he is, but he's up there. So if he can keep this up, not only is Boston College going to be a sleeper team in the ACC, A.J. Dillon's going to be a sleeper for the Heisman pick, which who would have thought a few weeks ago?
I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get into our Heisman picks in a little bit. I'll give a little spoiler. I don't have him in my top 4, but I have him as a wild card right now because I think he can get there, because we're 3 weeks in. He hasn't played a really top-of-the-line opponent yet, but I think that if he does and he performs well, I think Boston College is a pretty good team right here.
A.J. Dillon's 5th in the country now in rushing yards. He has 432 total rushing yards on the season, 4 touchdowns. Number 1 is Darrell Henderson at Memphis, 521.
That's another guy that everyone's sleeping on, Darrell Henderson out of Memphis. He has been an absolute beast. I think Memphis lost a game. I want to say they lost a game because I don't really see him in these rankings for the AP. Yeah, I don't see him in the AP, so I think they lost. With Brady White as well, that's leading the team. Memphis is a sleeper team as well, but I think that one loss is going to hurt his Heisman chances.
Memphis lost 22-21 to Navy.
Ooh. You hate to see it. Rough. But pretty much rounding out the receiving the votes, Iowa, they're on the outside looking in right now. Duke was Josh, you're the one that picked Duke to beat Baylor.
I did.
All of us had Baylor winning that game. Duke's looking good. Colorado, they're still looking good. Cal's looking good. Texas, they do have 12 votes. So they're not necessarily back yet. They might need a win this week in order for them to be back. Arizona State, we got 9 votes. Utah, they got 6. San Diego State, they got 5. Now, I always find that interesting because now Michigan State, they haven't looked as good, so I don't know how impressive that win is. But with San Diego State, who dominated ASU, I'm surprised that ASU still got more votes than them.
It's because ASU was ranked before.
True.
That's purely the only reason why.
And I think it's because ASU was simply that bad in that game.
True.
I think it was more than San Diego State playing well.
Now, we will get to that in a few minutes, but really quickly, guys, North Texas with 4 votes.
The best team in Texas.
The best. I think the only
You're not
undefeated,
wrong.
the only undefeated team in Texas, and probably one of the, I guess, I don't want to say best plays of the year because in reality it was kind of a stupid play that just every Arkansas player just boofed on because this guy, had it gone wrong, could have got lit up. But hey, shout out to North Texas.
Fake fair catch is one of the greatest special teams plays I had ever seen. There's that one, and there's also the one where you have 2 punt returners back, and one of the guys on the other end of the field calls for fair catch, and the punt's the opposite direction.
I like when they lie down in the AstroTurf and they blend themselves.
That was Kansas, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then got them like a 25-yard return. Washington State with 2 votes, and Syracuse after their fantastic win over the Florida State Seminoles, 2 votes.
Go Cuse.
All right, guys. Now, we are going to transition really quickly. I want to talk about this Arizona State game. Not necessarily the game, because we all know what happened there. San Diego State outplayed them, but more so the call at the end. Now, for those of you that weren't up, because I don't blame you, the game ended at about 11:30 p.m. I know BV knows that the hard way. The game ended about 11:30 p.m. Arizona State, they're down 2 touchdowns. This game's over. They get 1 touchdown. Then they just have a miracle where San Diego State turns the ball over, where they should have just downed it. ASU marches across the whole field, and then with, I don't know, it was like 10 seconds left, they throw like a 40-yard Hail Mary, comes down with the ball, and then gets absolutely decked.
Clobbered.
Absolutely decked. I'm hopefully going to find the play so I can play it right now for those that are watching the YouTube version if you haven't seen the play. He gets absolutely decked. Obvious targeting call. Now, this is where controversy comes into play. He held onto the ball for the most part, but it's kind of like one of those, is it a catch, is it not a catch, where the ball, from some angles, kind of came out a little. I personally didn't see it. I thought it was a catch. They ruled that it wasn't a catch. But my thing is, guys, what needs to happen with this targeting rule? Because he comes down with that. You're on the 3-yard line, final chance to tie the game, send it to overtime. This guy makes a completely illegal play.
Yeah.
The fact that was it Harvey that came down with the ball?
Darby,
Frank
Darby.
Darby.
It was Frank Darby. The fact that Darby got up and just walked it off after that hit, I was completely shocked by. A completely illegal hit. One of the more dangerous targeting calls I've seen in college football the last few years. He had every intent to just knock the daylight out of him.
Yep.
So instead, it was the 15-yard penalty. So I think they had one final play from the 30 or 35-yard line. The Hail Mary came up short. So my question is, guys, with a targeting call like this, I know in the NFL when you have a pass interference, it's a spot foul. Should college football consider changing the targeting call to a spot foul?
Absolutely. 100%. I don't... first off, Arizona State should not have been in that position anyway. I think they're the better team. They should have played like the better team. It shouldn't come down to that. But when it comes down to that, and you throw the ball downfield and an opposing player deliberately targets the player who's coming down with the football so that there's the possibility that he might drop it, I don't understand the logic of, okay, he just deliberately broke the rules and he's going to be rewarded for it with a win. I don't understand that logic at all. I mean, bottom line, I think the referee should have specified what they were looking at. They were looking at a targeting call, and I know they look at everything. But still, I don't think there was enough evidence to overturn that call. But bottom line, whether it was a catch or not, a targeting foul needs to be a spot foul because he came down at what, the 1-yard line, the 2-yard line?
He was with a 1.5, 2-yard line, yeah.
All right, so he's right there between the 1 and the 2. And he gets obliterated. Whether he holds on to the ball or not, it's the effort that he goes up and would have come down with the ball if he wasn't leveled in the top half of his body. I mean, he was hit in the head, fell down, and still almost caught the pass, to which they reviewed it, and I still think they wrongly overturned it. But bottom line, how do you get rewarded for deliberately breaking the rules when a player did that effort to go up and get the pass, and now, all of that aside, he's losing yardage for it? Yeah, you get the automatic first down on 4th down and 10, but who cares in this situation? Who cares?
Now, really quickly, we are going to play the audio of what the referee had to say following the play.
The ruling on the field of targeting is confirmed. Number 18 of the defense is disqualified. However, it was also determined that the pass was incomplete. It was 4th down. It will be an automatic first down at the 35-yard line for Arizona State.
Cool. So the good thing is they did have, the final chance to get a play. It's not like it was just turnover on downs, but of course they came up short. Now, BV, I know you have strong opinions that may be different than Josh's, but my thing I want to say is really quickly, I think if it was Darby that caught the ball, I think if he's on the ground and he's injured, then everyone is saying this needs to be a spot foul where this guy can't do it. I think the fact that he got up is what's going to kind of hurt the chance because had he gotten hurt, had it been some sort of neck injury,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden, this guy is like public enemy number one in college football, where you just deliberately possibly ended a guy's season over this, which is
Yeah.
why the rule would get changed. But I think the fact that he got up and it was no problem may have an effect. But BV, the floor is yours because I think your opinion is different than all of ours.
It is. I don't believe it should be a spot foul simply for the fact I think this is a very extreme situation that you probably won't see ever again. And if you do, it's going to be one time the next 10 years. I know, like in the NFL, like they want to get rid of the spot foul for pass interference. A lot of the players hate it because it's the referee's discretion. They think it slows down the game a whole lot. And like I do think they'll have a discussion about it. Even Coach Herm Edwards said in his press conference yesterday that there should be a discussion about it going forward to be a spot foul. But I just don't like how many times again are you ever going to see fourth quarter 10-second one score ball game Hail Mary and it happens like that? If it keeps recurring, then I see where it could be a spot foul. For now, I don't think there's a whole lot behind it to change it.
I agree on that point where the targeting aspect of it should be taken into the discretion. So say the player is ejected, then it's a spot foul. But if the player is not ejected, it's still a penalty. So you get it to the certain point. So I think pass interference should be a spot foul, but the targeting should be to the severity. So if the player is ejected, it is at the spot of where the hit was made.
See, I don't think pass interference should be a spot foul. I think they're doing it right. I don't like the way that the NFL does it. But and this is up for debate as well because this can be controversial. Bottom line, I think targeting is a bad penalty, but it needs to be
In certain aspects.
In certain aspects, because I don't think anyone remembers this. Nebraska UCLA, I don't remember what bowl game it was, but it was like 4 years ago, and Nate Gary, I think was his name. He's a safety for Nebraska. He comes in to hit a UCLA player, and the UCLA player, the way that he goes into Nate Gary, makes Gary's head like hit him. This is a completely unintentional helmet-to-helmet contact. But I could be remembering this wrong, but the Nebraska defensive back is ejected from the game. Completely unintentional. So if you're going to go ahead and say like, okay, well that's targeting and we're going to review it to see if he's ejected. If you're going to call the penalty for helmet to helmet, sure, make that a 15-yard penalty. But kind of like what BK says, if there is intent, which is also kind of up to the discretion of the officials for the most part. But like we see in this situation, and yeah, it's a very rare scenario that we're probably not going to see again. But if you see a player deliberately go for the head and there is an ejection that's warranted, then maybe based off of your discretion, could you determine it as a spot foul? And I know that leaves a lot of gray area considering what is intentional targeting, what is, incidental contact, helmet to helmet, what is the right way to go about this. But I mean, if there's a way to figure out what's targeting, what's not, what's intentional, what's not, what should be a bigger penalty, what's not, there needs to be a conversation about it.
Really quickly, we want to get what the fans' input is. So right now, just tweet us at the show, at the @HHShow_, whether or not you think targeting should become a spot foul. Because I want to know what like everyone else's opinions are that are non-Arizona State fans for this matter.
Josh, that was a 2015 Foster Farms Bowl, is what that was.
Okay.
That game you were talking about, Nebraska, UCLA.
Goat chicken.
I actually have some Foster Farms in my fridge right now.
That's good.
Yeah, dude, I like chicken.
It's just definitely going to be interesting to see what happens because the thing with the pass interference call I hate because when it's a spot foul in the NFL where, yeah, like you use it as an advantage to make sure you like prevent a touchdown. And I don't think it should be a spot foul for that. But I think targeting, it is tough because there are those plays where a player, they don't mean to. They just lean in and they make contact with the helmet. They're not trying to target. I'm not sure how many instances there are in college football where someone deliberately goes out of their way to try to, whether it's trying to force a fumble or something, with intent to do some damage. Because this guy, he could have gone about it a completely different way. He knew what he was doing. So I'm not entirely sure. We already have a mention right now from Tyler at Jagnol26. He says, yes, it should become a spot foul.
Yeah, I mean, and I was talking to a football player this weekend who plays for San Diego State. Might have talked about him before, but he will remain nameless in this aspect. And he said, basically, yeah, that play really won the game for us. And I said, yeah, I know, because he targeted him intentionally. And it's kind of disappointing the way that works out. But again, it's a very rare situation, like BV mentioned. We're probably not going to see again anytime soon. But that's why I think it should go up for debate.
So it's definitely going to be an interesting topic, at least whether it's this season, whether it's next season, because it needs to be changed. It's not fair for some guy to get absolutely dogged like that and nothing happens to him. I'm just glad, because when I saw that and he instantly got back up, I was shocked because that looked like it could have been so much worse. But guys, it's time to move on now, and it's time to go over our top 4 teams. Now, every week it's changed, and my top 4 is, well, aside from Alabama at 1, which I think we're going to be in the majority of the same on that one, my top 4 is completely different than it was last week. But really quickly right now, we have Connor F. Doherty, I hope I'm saying that right. He says, pass interference should stay the same, and I think targeting should also be a spot foul, because that's too big of a difference maker by losing a starting defender. So, that's the interesting thing as well, to hear what people think about it, because as Arizona State fans, we might be a little biased towards this because, of course, it did cost them the game, but it's in general for the safety of players and just playing the right way. It's something that needs to change. But guys, top 4 teams, it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. It doesn't even have to be in any sort of order. They could just be your current 4 best teams in college football, according to you.
All right, well, last week I didn't give an order, but then I kind of did, so I'm just going to go from 4 down. At 4, I've got Ohio State. They've got Urban Meyer coming back to really lead the team, and he's taking over his full head coaching duties, so I think that's a huge boost for them. Plus, I think they're playing good football. And, I think we'll touch on that TCU game a little bit as well. I have Clemson at 3, and then I think I have the biggest threat to Alabama in the SEC Conference at 2. That's Georgia. I still think they have one of the best, if not the best defense in the country, right up there with Clemson. And then I've got Bama at 1. There's no reason to drop Bama out, and that's one of the arguments that I've had for a long time, because everyone says, defending national champion, they're Alabama, they're good, we should just rank them number 1. And I think that there's a problem with that. But then also, when you look at the team and you look how they're playing, there's no reason for them to fall out of the number 1 spot, no matter how well Georgia and Clemson and Ohio State are playing. If Bama stays exactly the same, if they're winning football games in convincing fashion, regardless of what the other 3 are doing, there's no reason to have them out of the number 1 spot.
Josh going chalk there. I see that.
Same 4 for me, just different order. Obviously, Bama at the top. Actually, I have Ohio State at 2. Like you said, I think Urban Meyer is going to help coming back. And then Georgia at 3. And then Clemson at 4, because I really think they need to figure out the whole quarterback situation. I don't know if Kelly Bryant is truly the answer to get them all the way, but yeah.
I have Alabama at number 1. I think we can all say that we're all going to have Alabama at 1. I actually have Georgia at 2, and I'm flipping Clemson and Ohio State. So I'm having Ohio State at 3 just because of how dominant and purely dominant. Yeah, I said dominant. So how good they've been through the
Great
first.
word choice.
Hey,
there.
I doubled up on that. I used it twice. How good they've been and how aggressive they've been playing. Yes, Clemson's defense is the real deal, but like you said, BV, the quarterback play for Clemson is really up in the air and what's causing me to drop them low. So I'm gonna have Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Clemson.
BK, we have 3 of the 4 same. I got Clemson at 4. I got Ohio State at 3. Now, pretty much how I determined those 2, I looked at Ohio State's win over TCU, and I looked over at Clemson's win over Texas A&M. Both of the wins were good, but Clemson, there was a chance they were going to lose near the end. They almost kind of blew it, whereas Ohio State, more so in the second half, they kind of just ran away with it. So just for that reason, I did give Ohio State the edge. Now, here comes my shocker. BK, I don't know if you got any soundboard right there, or if you have any sort of shocking music, but here it is, guys. At number 2 in the country, my second best team are the LSU Tigers. And this is why. If we're going based off resumes at this point of the season, LSU should be number 1. Week 1, they beat Miami, who I believe was ranked 8th, and they beat them pretty single-handedly. And this past weekend, they go to Auburn, who was ranked 7th at the time, and they beat them. So already they have 2 top 8 wins just 3 weeks into the season. Both of them weren't at home. Okay, we got a phone call right away. I was like, that's not a right sound effect. So that's my thing right there, guys. LSU at 2. That's how I think the AP poll should be based off. They are at 6, but if you look at resumes currently, LSU's the best. LSU has the best resume. They have the best wins. And, of course, I have Alabama at 1. But there's my top 4.
I like it. And as soon as you said you had a mix-up in there at number 2, I knew it was going to be LSU because you're right. They do have the best resume right now. And I think they're kind of that trendy pick in college football right now. They're one of the hottest teams. They're one of the more fun teams to watch. And that's kind of what Coach O does.
I just love listening to his post-game interviews.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers. Go Tigers. But that's our top 4. But now, guys, let's go into our updated Heisman rankings. BV, I know you've been waiting all year just to be on our show for this very segment because I know you have a very special pick, guys. Once again, it doesn't have to be in a certain order, just the guys you think at this rate have a chance to win the Heisman.
I'm going to let BV go first.
BV, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
So obviously I have Tua in there, Kyler Murray, Will Grier, Dwayne Haskins, and then obviously, as everyone knows, the lovely Justin Herbert, who will be making a very big statement this weekend against Stanford.
Ooh. Justin Herbert. His numbers have been pretty impressive this year, very under the radar. Last week, aside from you commenting on the podcast saying, where's the Justin Herbert talk, there were other people that were saying, well, there was a few that were actually saying, like, what about that guy that plays quarterback at Oregon? I'm going, come on, if you're gonna complain that he's not on there, throw some respect on his name. But Justin Herbert, this is a guy that I definitely think needs to be in discussions because his stats are some of the best in college football. I think he's been hurt by the fact that Oregon has played absolutely nobody. I think this past weekend's game against San Jose State was their toughest game of the year.
Yeah.
And that's saying nothing.
Yeah.
But I like it, BV. I like the Justin Herbert pick.
The interceptions do need to come down because obviously, like, he already has 4 so far, which compared to the other guys that I had, like, they have 1 or less. And obviously against weaker competition, having 4. And last year he had 5 and whatever amount of games he played, and the year before he had 4. So he looks like he's going to already eclipse his, like, season low, career low. So that needs to stay low, so for his hopes. But we'll see.
Yeah, so I'm going to kind of stick with the same script here. I've got Kyler Murray at 1 now.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think he's the hottest quarterback in the country right now. I still like Will Grier, so I'll keep BK's pick in there. I like Dwayne Haskins a lot. I'm still keeping Jonathan Taylor in there. And then I've got my wild cards right here. And I kind of already teased one of them. I like A.J. Dillon from Boston College. I think he's one of the best and most underrated running backs in the country. I really like him a lot. In honor of the one and only Brady Vernon, I do have Justin Herbert. I like Justin Herbert a lot, but the interceptions are kind of a red flag for me, especially as someone who was a big Sam Darnold guy last year. Sam Darnold, you take away those interceptions, he had a decent year. But the interceptions were just too much, and I don't want to see Herbert have a similar season.
And then I'm still throwing in my initial Heisman pick. I still like Bryce Love. And I think once Pac-12 play really gets underway, I think he's going to continue to show that he's one of the more prolific running backs in college football.
He is expected to play this week.
Yep.
I have my top 3. I'm going to bump Will Grier down from my number 1 to my number 2.
Wow.
I actually have Kyler Murray at my number 1 spot right now.
My guy.
You,
not him, but yeah. It's fine.
Appreciate it, dog. Will Grier at 2. I have Tua at 3, still up there in the hunt. And then it's just running backs. There's so many you can put in that 4, 5, 6 spot that it's tough to just nail down one of them that's been the best. So I'm just going to say running back after that. So it's 3 quarterbacks
Hey, you
and
can't go
running backs.
wrong there.
No.
That's a great pick.
Yeah, he's going to someone will win the Heisman.
Oh, that's a hot take right there. That's a hot take. But for me, guys, I got to go with Tua at 1 because Tua, not only is he probably the best quarterback Alabama's had in a while, this is the most dominant I think Alabama's looked in a while. Their game against Ole Miss, all I had to do was watch the first 4 minutes to know that game was over and Ole Miss stood no chance. Alabama is on a completely different level this year, and I think if Tua just keeps this up and Alabama doesn't lose a game, even if they lose 1 game, I think Tua is going to be the lock. At number 2, I got Dwayne Haskins. At number 3, I have Will Grier. Jonathan Taylor, I did have him, but this past loss to BYU definitely hurt him a little. I think he's going to need to rush for at least over 2,000 yards and have Wisconsin go undefeated the rest of the way. Here's my sleeper right now. Well, it's not really much of a sleeper because we just talked about it. I have Justin Herbert cracking it, but only if he beats Stanford this week. This is his chance to cement himself into like the top 3, potentially top 2 if he has an amazing game. If Oregon loses, Justin Herbert, I believe, has absolutely 0 chance to win the Heisman this year. 0 chance.
And that's one way to really get people to look at him, too, because he's had some opportunities before, and I don't want to say that he's botched them, but there's some games that he's needed to win that he just simply hasn't. You know, he hasn't really seen consistency against UW. They lost to ASU last year on the road. This is a big opportunity for him, and I think Bryce Love. I think if Bryce Love has a decent game this week, if Bryce Love can rush for 100 yards against Oregon, I think he's right back in the Heisman hunt. And I think if Herbert's able to get a win this week, regardless of what his numbers really look like, if he can get a win, a lot of people are going to start paying more attention to him.
Also, just so everyone knows for how weird this is, I actually grew up an Oregon State fan. And somehow have a man crush on Justin Herbert.
He's had a man crush on him since last year.
Sooner or later, until you brought it up. Hey, BV, did you know that Justin Herbert is the president of the University of Oregon's fishing club?
That's exactly what it was. Thank you.
Yep.
Because I just texted MJ right now saying, what club is Justin Herbert a member of? Because when I visited Oregon, like her roommate said that he was in some weird club because there was like a commercial for it that came on the TV. And for the life of me, I couldn't remember. But here we go, BK coming in clutch.
President of the University of Oregon Fishing Club.
The president of the fishing club.
Did MJ respond?
No, she said, I don't know.
I remember actually, because I was there my freshman year, I dropped that stat in the middle of the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
The fishing club? Now,
Yeah, the fishing club.
Last year, though, because BV was so high on Justin Herbert, when I went on my first annual Masta Beta Vegas trip,
God.
he said, here's $10. I want you to put it on Justin Herbert to win the Heisman. Well, he didn't give me the $10, so I ended up not.
Did Venmo you. You Venmo me back.
Oh, because I think I forgot to. My bad. But even last year,
Got no words.
last year he was high on him to win the Heisman. This year he's
Then he broke
even
his collarbone.
higher. Hey, it's all good. But guys, really quickly, let's talk about some games from this past weekend. The first one I want to talk about right now, it's not a fake fraternity. It's a real fraternity that we're in, and that's
this is
USC
scary.
Texas. All four of us picked USC this past weekend, but I did mention last week that Texas was 3.5-point favorites, and I thought that was way too high for Texas. What's going on? Well, I guess it turns out the people that make these projections know what they're talking about, because Texas won by, 20 points was the final score? I don't even know how bad the game ended up being. It was a bad game. So this is kind of my thing as well. I'm not going to say, is Texas back? Is that the case? Blah, blah, blah. Texas, they're definitely better than they have been the last few years. Is USC just not that good this year?
I think the biggest issue right now is obviously they have a freshman quarterback who is supposed to be a senior in high school, and that's not much of an excuse. A lot of people are really getting on Clay Helton.
It seems to be a recurring theme every year where he's the first to blame.
Every year. And you know what? I am the biggest anti-Clay Helton hater. Does that make sense? I have no hatred for this guy whatsoever. In fact, I like the hire. I am pro-Clay Helton 100%. But the issue with USC right now is the offense. The play calling is atrocious. T. Martin is an awful offensive coordinator. I had a friend say, hey, don't you think that, if Todd Graham's going to get fired from ASU, they should hire USC's offensive coordinator? No, he's awful. He is so bad. I'm sorry. I cannot defend the play calling.
Everyone watching with headphones right now is just going,
I'm sorry.
No.
The play calling is atrocious. They're dominant for the first quarter, and then it all goes downhill. It's like ASU. ASU's not throwing the ball downfield until the fourth quarter, and now it's too late to get yourself back in the game and score points. And I feel bad for the USC defense because the defense is pretty good. I thought the defense has been good. They held Stanford to 17 points. They looked decent early in the game. But bottom line, the play calling has been so bad for USC. They need to step up because if this continues and this game this week against Washington State, I don't know what the point spread is. I haven't looked at it if it's even out yet. I haven't paid any attention to it. If this game was in Pullman, I would pick Washington State without a doubt, and that's why I'm hesitant to even consider picking USC in this game, because the offense is just so bad, and they have so many weapons, which is why it's beyond me why the offense is so bad other than play calling.
Really quickly, on Twitter right here, at GoDucksEdits, tweeted the show saying, I like this BV guy.
I like this BV guy too.
With a gif of Puddles crowd surfing.
Now we have to go into this
for those that
explanation.
don't know, he loves Justin Herbert, but he is petrified by Puddles the duck. Petrified.
It's actually just
he is
the
scared
duck.
of him.
And come November 17th, when I'm in Eugene, I'm going to have to face that duck one-on-one, and I don't know how it's going to go.
Arm wrestle.
Arm wrestle.
Can somebody get this on video? Brady, are you going to Eugene?
I'm not.
Oh, my.
I want to, though. I'm going to try to get... I have my people going to Eugene, so I can get one of them to get the video.
Your people.
Blake, are you going to Eugene?
No, I wish.
Dude, how are we going to get this on video?
Dude, actually, hold on.
Wrestle him.
Every time I look at Blake, it looks like he has an eye patch because of the wire, and I think he's a pirate.
Oh, jeez. Here, I'll bring my thing down right now. All right, guys. We talked about it. USC, Texas. It's going to be an interesting one to see, and then last year's game was obviously better. This game, which is odd because from the first quarter, it looked like USC was going to dominate, and then I don't know if Matthew McConaughey came and said, all right, here's the deal, guys. We need to go out there and we need to win, and it just motivated them or something. But it looked like a completely different game, and that second half was absolutely brutal. BYU getting the last-second victory over Wisconsin. As Wisconsin, it was the theme of the weekend, guys. Your kicker's going to miss a crucial field goal.
Yeah.
And the Mormons get the upset.
Scotty just didn't have it this weekend. And that's the thing. And this was the issue that I think all of us had last year, including Lyle. And it was...
The offensive line's fantastic. The defense is pretty darn good. Jonathan Taylor as a running back is good.
But you need more firepower. You need something else. Because you got all these big boys in the front seven and on the offensive line, but that's not always going to get you the win. That's why you see some teams like... You see a lot of these group of five these non-power five teams able to compete at such a big level, and it's not because they've got a bunch of big boys up front. They've got firepower, they've got speed, and I just don't think Wisconsin has that. So yes, I'm still high on Wisconsin this year, but obviously the loss is going to drop them out of my top four, and I'm going to stick with them like I said on our opening show, but I just think they need a little more firepower if they want to succeed at the top level, especially against good teams.
They just don't need Alex Hornibrook.
I feel like he's one of those guys that's been there for the last 10 years.
I think it's literally been like last year, hasn't
it?
I
don't know. It feels like he's been there forever. I feel like he's been there forever.
Left-handed quarterbacks can't exist unless you're Michael Vick.
What about Matt Leinart?
Kellen Moore.
In college football.
Guys,
Matt Leinart.
Guys, none of these are good. None.
Matt Leinart was good in college.
Alex Hornibrook's been there since 2015.
Okay, so a pretty long time, but shout out to BYU because I believe this was their first, I forget what the stat was, but it was like their first win against a ranked team on the road since like the 80s. Or maybe it was like top 10 or something like that. It was some ridiculous stat where they haven't won a game like this in a very long time. BYU, as we always say, you were celebrating the night into the morning with caffeine-free Diet Coke. And regular Diet Coke because they have regular Coke there now at BYU. That's a fun thing. Ohio State TCU, I genuinely thought TCU was going to get this job done. The first half, they were the better team than Ohio State. I don't know who it was that came in. Maybe LeBron James because he's an Ohio State fan. Maybe he came in and said something. But Ohio State in the second half, How did you have that on the soundboard?
I'm good at what I do.
Wow, props to you right there, BK. Props to you. So it was a tale of two halves. The first half, TCU was the better team. The second half, Ohio State was the much better team, which I was bummed about because I really wanted to see TCU get the job done. Unfortunately, they couldn't. But overall, it was a very good game until, like I said, the second half when Ohio State kind of ran away with it.
Yeah, and this game says a lot about the Buckeyes, in my opinion, because they played a quality opponent. I think TCU is a good football team. But it showed how powerful Ohio State really is, because now they can play a good football team, but clearly an inferior opponent, and they can get the job done, and they can dominate in the second half. And that's big, because they showed that they can really just take over football games, regardless of who their opponent is. And I think that speaks volumes, especially heading into Big Ten play, because they're going to face off with a good Michigan team. I still like Michigan. They're going to face off with good teams in their division, in their conference. That could come into Columbus and upset Ohio State, but that's why this TCU game is so big, because they faced a clearly inferior team, and they didn't back down at all. They really just took over the ball game.
Dwayne Haskins is a baller.
Yeah.
He's a baller. 344 yards, 2 touchdowns on 24 for 38 passing. And J.K. Dobbins had 120 yards on 18 touches. Is there a better 1-2 punch in college football?
Not currently right now. I don't think there is. I think they're the best.
Yeah, I think they are.
I think they're the absolute best. Really quickly, going back to these Twitter mentions. Now, this is great. If you're listening to the show live, interact with us on Twitter so that way we can talk to you guys live on the show. Goduck's Edit tweeted us again, and he said this was his interaction with Puddles. It's a Snapchat video that's 4 seconds of him in the front row in an Oregon game going for a high five, and Puddles just walks on right by.
Last year when
Swag.
ASU played against Oregon at home, I actually went up and got a picture with Puddles, and Puddles threw up the forks. So I was...
I love
What?
Puddles.
Yeah.
Wasn't it was you, Blake, that saw Puddles on the skateboard, right?
Oh, yeah. No, my first visit to Oregon in October, I was just hanging with my friend Gabe. We were just out hanging at noon, and we're walking around, and here comes Puddles on a longboard just cruising down the middle of the road. As if it was nothing. I'm going, what is that? Also, we also got another mention right now. Great show Awful Matthew McConaughey impersonation.
Who's that from?
It's from MJ. Now, guys, we did kind of touch on the other games as well, so I want to move on. But here's something that I do want to talk about really quickly, but I want to get BV to say something really quick because he has something he wants to say.
Okay, that TCU game had a really weird stretch in that third quarter where they were winning 21-13. Ohio State gets like a long screen pass for a touchdown. TCU then just fumbles for like a touchdown score. Then on that ensuing kickoff is when they try that play where the guy's laying down in the end zone. They run it back for a touchdown, but get called for an illegal like forward pass. Then they punt. The punter drops the ball, gets the kick blocked. So in that like 10-minute stretch, TCU kind of just blew up. And I think the game was a lot closer than we really thought looking at the final score. Because if that 10-minute stretch, like they don't just shoot themselves in the foot, we might be looking at it differently.
So are you saying TCU lost the game and Ohio State did not win the game?
Yes.
Oh.
All right, then.
There you go. Also, really quick, you're right now, Ryan, guys, you guys know I'm probably the worst there is with names. Where
Absolutely.
I cannot do it. Ryan Fravel, maybe it's Fravel, I'm not sure. He says, Reggie the Redbird for Illinois State is the best mascot ever. You guys definitely have to come to an Illinois State game.
If we want to talk about terrible mascots, by the way, the San Diego Padres mascot could be the worst thing in all of sports. I know it's like...
Whoa. I
dude.
have to respect for my roommate, Chase Williams. He would not take that.
I was just there this past weekend and saw the mascot. I was about 10 feet away from him. And the first thought that came to my mind was, what is that? What is it?
It's a Friar. It's a Padre.
Guys, I'm down to go to an Illinois State game.
Go Redbirds.
Redbirds.
I'm down.
Yeah,
Also,
John Rave, Illinois State baseball. Go Chatham Anglers.
Matthew Dole
God.
says Ohio State had a watch party where they played marching band music over the commercials.
I like it.
That sounds
The
about
Ohio
right.
State marching band played?
It just says Ohio State had a watch party where I assume the band. Maybe it was like an away game. Maybe if Matthew can give us clarification on that, we can answer that. Now, really quickly, guys, this is a quick bit of news I want to talk about. I mentioned this the other day, and that is Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the starting quarterback for UCLA. His dad pretty much has turned into LeVar Ball, where he turned to Twitter and he criticized Chip Kelly, saying that Chip Kelly is a $1 million coach who bears no responsibility for the team's 0-3 starts. He said other stuff as well, where he claimed that like his time in Oregon was very lucky. So Chip Kelly came out and said, I have no response. I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. That's the great thing about sports. When you win, people say good things, and when you don't, people say bad things. That's life, you know? And he said he pretty much had no reaction. It's UCLA's worst start since 1971. They lost by 24 to Fresno State. Now, really quickly, guys, what do you do if your Chip Kelly, your starting quarterback's dad, come out and he calls you out pretty much on Twitter?
What's up with these UCLA parents, man?
I don't know.
It's been a while since we've heard from LeVar Ball. We're due for a LeVar Ball
first it was
drop.
LeVar Ball, and then now it's what's his name? Is it Michael Robbins?
What about... it could be the wrong school, but didn't like P. Diddy's son...
Yeah, he threw a
kettlebell.
A kettlebell at someone.
Was that at UCLA?
Yeah, he threw a kettlebell at like an assistant coach. Oh,
All right.
Crazy sports parents, man.
Wish I
Yeah.
saw this at UCLA.
Yeah. I'll have to pull up the name, but I did have somebody send me a message on Twitter, and he said, as an Oregon fan, I want to know what your thoughts are about Chip Kelly at UCLA. What's going on? And I said, look, I think when Chip Kelly was at Oregon, he obviously was there for a couple years so that he was able to recruit guys that fit his scheme. And Oregon, when he went there, was kind of a middle-of-the-pack team that he turned into a national championship contender because he was able to recruit speed, recruit athleticism, and he was able to surprise a lot of teams in the conference. Like I said, that Wisconsin doesn't have. They had firepower. They didn't have the biggest guys, but they were a good football team, and they were able to jump all over their opponents. Then he went to the NFL, and that run-and-gun offense that he was trying to run, and there were a lot of logistics that were a part of this offense, it just doesn't work in the NFL. That's why he didn't have any NFL success. And then he goes to UCLA. It's his first season. I think he'll have more success in the future. But right now, trying to get this game plan to transition into Pac-12 football again at UCLA, it's just not working right now. Which is why, again, I've said it before, I'll say it again, this is a team that could legitimately win only 2 games this year.
Their schedule is not looking good. Now it is time to go into Blake's bets segment. Guys, last week was another good week for me. I did go 3 for 5 overall. There we go. Cue that 50 Cent
I got you,
music.
dog.
I got money. Well,
Let it hit real quick.
I got no money because I didn't bet on any of these games. But guys, I do talk about how, if you want to make some bets, sign up for Bovada. Last week we talked about how someone made some sort of deposit. We had 3 more people this week sign up with Bovada. I currently have $425 in my Bovada account right now, so I may have to make some Blake's bets, but I was 3 for 5 last week, 8 for 15 on the season. My first game this week I want to talk about, guys, is Florida Atlantic against UCF. UCF, 14-point favorites. Now, I do think they get the win, but Florida Atlantic, this is one of those teams that we thought was going to be one of the best, group of 5 teams. We thought that they were going to be one of the better ones. They looked awful week 1. They've bounced back since. 14, I think that they can be within 14 points. Texas A&M and Alabama, 27.5 points for Bama. This was a Texas A&M team that just hung with Clemson. I'm not saying they can hang with Alabama, but by 4 touchdowns, I think they can hang within there. Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, the over of 78. This is going to be a shootout. I think both teams are going to score over 50 points. Texas Tech's game last week against Houston, that was a combined 120 points. I think that's going to be over 78. Wisconsin and Iowa, this is a game of the defenses. I'm taking the under of 43 points. TCU and Texas is my final one. I'm taking the over of 47. I think there's going to be a lot of points in that game as well, and those are Blake's bets of the week. Now, guys, we're going to transition into our Q&A segment, but really quickly, if you want to call in and ask us a question, the phone lines are open. Brady's in there ready to take calls. Call the number at 602-496-5156. Once again, that number is 602-496-5156. If you have a question for us, give it a call, and we will answer your questions live on the show. But while we wait for a question, guys, let's get into some other Q&As from the Sports Gamer. He wants to know, could Wisconsin still make the playoff despite a loss to BYU? I kind of talked about this earlier.
Yeah, and you hit the nail right on the head. It doesn't affect them too much because, well, I think it does affect them a lot, but I still think they can get in, especially since this BYU loss wasn't in conference. If they dominate in conference play and they can get all the way to the Big Ten championship and win, I think obviously they have a very good chance.
No, I don't want it either, because I don't want to watch Alex Hornibrook in the college football playoff.
I do.
Why?
I absolutely do.
Why? Tell me why. Give me one valid reason of why.
I wish we don't have enough time. Eric Valencia, he wants to know, with Kansas having 2 straight wins, is this a sign of a new Kansas that will rule the Big 12?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They're coming.
I mean, Lawrence is cool. It's a big hill. It sucks to walk up, though.
Oh, so this was a 2-part question. Also, did you guys see the Hurricane Florence weather announcer getting exposed on TV?
Oh, is this with when the 2 guys are just walking by casually? Yeah.
Wait, what?
So this guy is just mocking like he's getting pushed by the wind, and these 2 guys just walk by just fine.
While BK is tending to that call over there, we're going to go to our next question. Now, this one, I can't even pronounce it. It's not Hashiman Hikigaya.
Same.
I don't know exactly what that is, but he says, are coaches given a fair chance to build a team nowadays? Coaches in places like Texas and Florida State are already on the hot seat with less than 3 years at the school.
I think when you've been given an opportunity so big after succeeding elsewhere, I think you need to have at least 2 years, which is why I was very upset that Todd Graham was let go, because I thought that he was trying to rebuild and I thought that he was doing a decent job of it. But that's the thing. If Arizona State were to lose out, obviously Herm Edwards would be on the hot seat. But I don't think there would be any reason for him to be fired within the 2-year mark, because he needs time to build a program.
We got a caller. We got Jordan from Kirkland, Washington on the line.
We have Jordan from Kirkland, Washington. Jordan, how are you doing tonight, my man?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Hey, we're doing great. Now, Jordan, you're out there in Kirkland, Washington. Who's your team?
I'm a really, really big Seattle U fan.
Seattle U.
Seattle U. Do they have a football team out there?
No, they don't. That's why I got to listen to you guys to really get my fix in for the week.
I love it, Jordan. I love it. What's your question for us this week, man?
Yeah. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate this. The first time, long time, 6'5", 220.
What is this, Dan Patrick show?
Dan Patrick show. I get the dish. So I'm gonna keep going. What do you guys, when you go to a college football stadium, it's much different than a baseball stadium. What are you looking for in the concession stand?
This is a good question, actually. This is a really good
That's actually
question.
a really good question. I'm looking for the cheapest thing on the menu first off and foremost. I'm looking at what the cheapest thing is, and you can't go wrong with the hot dog. That's always the go-to. Also, I like to look for the combos. If I can get some sort of like burger, fries, or something like that for under $10, that's my go-to.
Wait.
Also, if they have a souvenir cup, I like the
Big
souvenir
fan
cup.
of the souvenir cup.
Say the word combos again, please.
Combo.
That's not how you just said it. You said it like an
It's a combo.
It was like,
You're the combo.
Oh, is that my inner Californian coming out?
Oh yeah. Jordan, I like to look for variation. So I don't necessarily. I mean, I'll go for the generic ballpark stadium food, whatever you got. But if there's a little bit of variation, maybe like some local vendors that come in and set up some stands around the stadium. I know they do that. I think they do it at the Rose Bowl. I know they do it at the Coliseum. I don't know. I don't think they do it at Arizona State, but I like that.
One of my big things is the NFL does this a lot, like sort of what Josh said. They have super unique, super high-end, really good food, but you can never go wrong with the terrible cheese nachos. Like, that little cup of cheese is the worst, but it's the absolute best. You can never go wrong there.
people like that.
Oh, I absolutely love it.
Like a walking taco, too. Those are good.
Well, Jordan, my man, thank you so much for listening. Shout out to Seattle U, and thank you so much for being a fan of the show. We really appreciate it.
Big time, guys. Any more shirts coming?
Any more shirts?
You want to order one of those online?
Making some new ones?
Hey, you could still pick up a Zane for Heisman shirt. I mean,
Zane for any team in the NFL
Zane
right
for any
now.
team. Jordan, we'll keep you updated, bud. Hit us up on Twitter so we can talk some more.
I'll do that. Thanks, guys.
All right, have
Thanks,
a good one,
Jordan.
my man. Man, Jordan sounds like a great guy. Seattle U, that's a first. Seattle U.
Yep.
They don't even have a football team.
You guys know anybody at Seattle U?
I don't. I don't.
Lyle's friend that plays baseball there.
Ah,
We met him in Cape Cod.
Well,
all right then.
hopefully now, those that are listening, because we've had some people tweet the show saying the phone line was busy. So now, if you guys are listening, the phone line is
There we go.
Man, this is perfect timing right here. Maybe it's Jordan again with the second question. While we let BK answer that, I'm going to ask another question from the Q&A. Timothy Bell wants to know, I go to Tennessee, and I need all the optimism I can get about them. So let me have it.
here's what you're going to do. You're going to go on YouTube. You're going to type in Rocky Top Tennessee Marching Band, and you're going to listen on repeat. That should be all of the motivation you need. Go Rocky Top.
Wait, does Tennessee have a live dog?
Yes, they
Yes,
do.
they do.
That's all you need.
They have a
What is
good
a
boy.
dog?
Hey, what about Dubs from Washington?
Bro, Dubs 2 will not be there next week.
know, so sad.
And I'm so upset. I just wanted to pet the puppy. But I guess
That's
Dubs...
unethical.
All right, well, we have
That's
another
unethical.
caller. It's Steven from Washington again. He actually called in last week, and let's see. Is Steven, you on the line there?
Yeah.
Steven, how's it going, my man? How is it over there?
Pretty good.
All right, brother. What do you have for us this week?
Well, last week I didn't have a Huskies question, but this time I actually do. I have a couple questions about the Washington quarterback situation. I'm pretty sure you guys weren't paying attention to the Washington-Utah game because you guys were watching the Arizona State game, but we didn't really play that well, and Jake Browning kind of had a bad game, and it's starting to get to the point where a lot of Huskies fans are kind of really getting sick of him, and I would like to know what your guys' thoughts are on Jake Browning as a quarterback, and what are your thoughts on Jacob Eason next year? What's his ceiling as a quarterback coming out the transfer?
Well, my personal opinion of Jake Browning is that, well, I kind of call him noodle arm because I don't think he can throw the ball past 10 yards. I don't think he is very good, and I think it's going to be a major upgrade going to Eason next year. And hopefully Browning doesn't lose you guys another game this year.
Now, my thing is, we talked about this earlier, I think it was week 1 or so, where Jake Browning kind of wasn't the sole reason he lost to Auburn, but he did not look good. I'm very interested that you mentioned that a lot of Washington fans are getting fed up with him, because I was thinking the same thing, where this is a guy, I think he's been the reason why Washington hasn't taken that step to the next level. he gets the job done like during the regular season against these teams, but when he's needed most, he just doesn't show up. And as you mentioned, it was a close game against Utah. That was a game that I kind of had an upset watch because Utah at night, that's just one of the tougher places to play. But Jake Browning, and it just seems like it's happened more often, where people are starting to grow a little more worrisome at him. I think next year, Eason, though, I think he's going to make Washington fans completely forget about Browning because he is going to be one of the better quarterbacks Washington's ever had, I think. There's a hot take.
I think last year was Browning's best chance and his best stock option to make the next leap into the NFL. And his stock is only falling this year, which it sucks to see a quarterback get your team to the playoff, play as well as they did. Yes, they had a lot of weapons and good receivers and running backs and everything on that team, but his stock's fallen, and it's fallen quick. I think Eason's a baller, though.
I think it's just a tough thing where do you bench Browning at this point of the season? I mean,
give him one more game.
Even then, though, I mean, if they most likely are still going to beat Arizona State, I don't know if you bench them. Steven, what do you think they should do as a native Washington?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how it's pronounced.
Well, I mean, I don't see Jake Browning getting benched this year at all. I mean, even if Jake Browning just completely stinks it up the rest of the year, Eason's on the red shirt. He's not going to play this year. I mean, our best backup is Jake Haener, and I think he's a true freshman. He's
a redshirt freshman.
He doesn't a redshirt freshman. Yeah, he got some playing time against North Dakota, and look, he went 7 for 7 with a touchdown, but that's against North Dakota. And I mean, I just don't see Jake Browning getting benched, no matter how bad he plays the rest of the year. And I don't know if you guys saw the interception that he threw against Utah. It was awful. I mean, he tried to pull a Russell Wilson. He did a figure eight trying to escape a sack. And he just threw it up for grabs for anybody, and it was intercepted. It was one of the worst interceptions I've ever thrown, or I've ever seen somebody throw. And I heard the commentators afterwards saying, "Oh, Jake Browning's a smart quarterback. He's a 4-year veteran." And it's like, if he's such a smart quarterback, why does he consistently make dumb plays?
Yeah.
And I mean, we're all getting kind of sick of him, but I don't see him getting benched for Haener anytime soon.
Yeah, I think Washington at this point, they have to ride it out. But next year when Eason comes in, I think you guys are going to be completely fine.
Yeah, hopefully. Our receiving core looks pretty good, so hopefully our offense will be much better next year.
Also, like I said, make sure this week when you're at the game against Arizona State, you try to find the guys. I'll just tweet at the show like where you're sitting, and I'll pass along to the guys because I personally won't be there. Everyone else will be, well, aside from Josh right here next to me. He's not going to be at the game, but we'll see if we can meet up for a photo or something, brother.
Yeah, I don't know exactly where I'm going to sit because my friend's the one that bought the tickets, but I'll definitely try and find you guys.
All good. Thanks again for listening live, bro. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, guys. So, again, calling in for the second week in a row. Now, that is interesting, though, with Washington because Browning, he's looked bad the last few games, but what other options do you have? You can't really bench him. You kind of got to write it out at this point. The phone lines are still open, taking calls, but a few more questions really quickly, guys. Let's go through these as quickly as we can. Tyler Steinbach wants to know, does McKenzie Milton have a legitimate chance at the Heisman, the UCF quarterback?
I don't think he does. I think he can get some national recognition, but they got so much recognition last season, and I think it was big for the team. Right now, I just don't think he's going to be able to compete at a national level with a lot of these other guys that are currently in the Heisman race.
Doubt it. If they can't get into the top 4, then I don't see it happening.
I think if UCF goes undefeated and his numbers are out of this world, he does have a chance, but it's gonna be tough.
We have Ryan from Illinois on the phone. We'll talk about some Notre Dame football and some hot takes as well.
We got Ryan. Now, Ryan, I know you've been tweeting the show trying to get on, but the phone line's been busy, so I'm glad you're finally able to get on. It's also kind of a drag that you got Notre Dame questions, but our Notre Dame expert, Lyle, isn't here, so we'll try our best to talk some Notre Dame football. What do you got for us this week, my man?
Well, I actually have 2 questions, and I have 1 hot take.
Ooh, I love it.
So, my one question is, how do you guys think Notre Dame, what are their chances of going undefeated this year? And my second question is, what are you guys' thoughts on, because me as a Notre Dame fan, I'm kind of disgusted with the way Wimbush has played, and honestly, I've wanted Book to be put in because I honestly think he's the better quarterback. When he's come in, the offense runs smoother, and he seems to play a lot better. So I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and then I'll give you my hot take.
I know that Lyle has actually been. I'm not going to speak for him, but I know that he likes Book too, and I do too. Brandon Wimbush, he's okay. I think Book would be a really nice option. So I think that could be something to consider if you're the Notre Dame coaching staff. But also, going back to your other question, looking at the teams that they're going to play on their schedule, I mean, Wake Forest I don't think is a pushover, especially when they struggled a little bit with Vanderbilt, maybe even struggled a little bit with Ball State. I think Notre Dame's a good football team, and I think they'll beat Wake Forest. But then looking ahead, they still have to play Stanford, Virginia Tech. I don't think Northwestern is a pushover either. I've said it before. I think they're a good team. And then their last game, obviously, they end the season at USC, and I think it's a rivalry game. Anything can happen, especially when it's in LA. I think those games have been tougher for Notre Dame, but they play a lot of decent teams. I don't see a whole lot of pushovers on their schedule, so I don't think that they go undefeated. I think they can, but I don't think they do. And I really think they can only have one loss if they want a shot at the playoff, and it needs to come, I want to say relatively soon, because if it comes later in the season, I don't think they can make the playoff.
It needs to be either to Stanford or Virginia Tech if that's going to be one of their losses coming up.
Yeah.
Get it away now, and since those are top 13 ranked teams, it has to happen. It's going to be a tough schedule, but I'm all aboard the let's change quarterbacks, because it's obviously not working with Wimbush. It's obviously not. They've been close in all of their games. They won the first game by 7, they won the second game by 6, and they won the third game by 5.
And they've only
so
been
they can win
putting
by
up
4 this week.
They've only been putting up. They have not put up more than 24 points a game.
24, 24, 22. So it's
They're
interesting
consistent.
to see. They are consistent. It's been a bunch. Now, before we go on really quickly to the hot take, our good friend Chase, he said this is the upset watch pick of the week for him. He says he likes Wake Forest over Notre Dame in this game.
Really?
So knowing Chase, that's probably going to happen.
The look on Brady's face right now is just disappointment and confusion.
But Ryan, I am very excited to hear your hot take, so let's hear it.
Well, to kind of counterpoint before we get to that, I have looked at Notre Dame's schedule. A lot of their the tough games are at home. They really only have 2 true road games against Wake Forest and USC, which I think are very winnable games because Wake Forest is either good or, they're an average team at best, but I think they shouldn't overlook them. Also USC, which is part of my hot take, which I'll go into now.
Oh boy.
I think USC, Stanford, and Ohio State are very overrated. One, because I think USC was not a very good team to begin with. I think once they lost Sam Darnold, they kind of fell off. They don't have a person who can take charge of the team. And I think they're still young. I think next year they'll be pretty good. And I don't think Stanford's win over them was very impressive. And I think Stanford, the offense, is not as good as Notre Dame's, even though Notre Dame's is not that good. I think they're a defensive-oriented team. Only putting 17 points on USC's defense, who gave up a ton of points to Texas. And Ohio State, I think they just get a lot of praise in the rankings because of the name and what they've been in the past. I think the Big Ten is very overrated this year based off what we've seen so far the first 3 weeks. And I think TCU threw that game away. I don't think Ohio State won the game. I think TCU kind of handed it over to them. Because me watching the game looked like TCU was dominating. And TCU had that 4-minute stretch where they gave up 21 points.
Well, that is a hot take. And I like that you're able to back it up, too. I mean, if you're going to have a hot take, you need to back up your information. You did. I agree as well. The Ohio State one, I think that's the biggest hot take of them all. We're going to have to wait and see, especially coming off a great win against TCU. But your points were valid, and I can't argue. Josh?
Yeah, I mean, I think Stanford's a very good football team, but I think the 17 points, again, they're a team that's kind of like Wisconsin, but I do think they're better. I think they have more firepower, and like I said about Wisconsin, I think they're a better offense. But I like Stanford as a team, and the 17 points they put up against USC's defense, I think USC's defense is pretty good. I mean, they only gave up 3 touchdowns to Texas this week, and you got to keep in mind 37-14. One of them was a blocked field goal returned for a touchdown, along with 4 field goals themselves. So I'll give the defense credit there, but I like Texas. I like Stanford as a team, but I like the point you made about the road games for Notre Dame for sure. That's why I think that game against USC and the game against Wake Forest really stand out, because I don't think either team is that good.
Well, Ryan, thank you so much for staying up. And if we're ever in the area to catch an Illinois State football game, we're going to hit you up and we're going to get into that student section. We're going to have the time of our lives, regardless of who they're playing.
Oh, you definitely have to. And I wanted to say, don't sleep on Chattanooga. But I got to say, I'm sorry that Illinois State's going to win the FCS championship.
Oh, that's another hot take.
So go Redbirds.
Illinois State winning the FCS championship. I don't know, man. Chattanooga's 3-0, and they've looked awfully good this year. But, hey, if it's a Chattanooga, Illinois State FCS championship, we're going to have you back on and get some hot takes as well.
Sure.
All right, my man. Have yourself a good night and a good week this week.
Yep, you too, man. Thanks.
All right, Illinois State. I like it.
I do.
Go Redbirds.
Go
They're
Redbirds.
going to be my sleeper team. All right, guys, but that does wrap up the Q&A. The phone lines are officially closed. Way to go, BK, handling those questions.
I don't think I got to answer a single question in the Q&A, by the way.
I don't think you answered a single Q&A. But, hey, you've been working hard over there behind the booth, so that's okay. Now, guys, we are going to go into the pick'ems. So cue that amazing awards music that we got there.
You going to give us a scoring update first?
I'm going to give you guys a scoring update, but really quickly, it's still not too late to join the Harris Highlights ESPN Pick'em League, and we're getting a caller.
I'll go quick with this. I'll go quick with the phone call.
Okay, we'll go quickly with the phone call because someone's trying to get on. That's okay. But really quickly, it's not too late to join the ESPN Pick'ems League. There's over 350 members. We're just at about 400 members. Make sure you join the league, guys. We have some sad news, though, in regards to this. Captain Rob is no longer in first place. Captain Rob, buddy, what happened this week, man? I guess he just had an off week, and he slipped in the rankings, too. He kind of fell back. Now leading with 24 points is J.P. Wilson.
All right.
So J.P. Wilson, shout out to you for leading the way. Captain Rob, you need to step on it, bud. We need you getting first place. All right, Brady, who do we got on the phone?
Do we gonna have one last phone call here? He's gonna have some questions about West Virginia or Virginia Tech, I believe it was.
Virginia Tech. All right. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Connor Doherty. I actually talked to you guys last year about the Clemson game, and I actually talk to you every week after football games.
Oh, I know. He goes by Conman Artist on Twitter, boys. Conman Artist. What a great name.
And I'm calling mainly. Got a little peeved when that last dude said that Notre Dame only had 2 true road games left.
Oh, getting called out.
Tech.
Ooh, I like it.
So wanted to throw that out there. Didn't mean to put him in his place, but my question was actually, regarding the weaker side of the ACC. Which team do you guys think would win or is going to win that division, the Coastal? And who do you think, if they win, who do you think could beat Clemson in the ACC championship game?
Ooh.
I think tough. Virginia Tech wins the Coastal.
Virginia Tech?
Yeah.
BV?
I don't remember last time I sat down to watch an ACC football game, for being honest.
I think, to be honest, I think it's Virginia Tech with Miami kind of there at number 2. Now,
I have that as well.
Duke. Don't sleep on Duke. This is a team. They're currently undefeated. They could surprise some people. I'm not saying they're going to, but I think at this point, the best chance there is for any team to pretty much give Clemson any sort of run for their money.
I'll go Duke then.
You'll go Duke? I think Virginia Tech. I think they probably have the best chance.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's the answer you wanted to hear, I hope.
Yeah. I mean, Virginia Tech has to play at Duke, so that's gonna be a pain in the ass a little bit, I think. So that's not gonna be fun.
All right. So hopefully they can get it done. But I mean, I appreciate you staying up late, because what is it, 125 over there where you're at?
Yeah, 121.
Oh,
yeah,
my goodness. So shout out to you for staying up, my man. Hopefully I'll be talking to you soon in the Twitter DMs. Conman Artist, everyone.
Yep.
I'll talk to you soon next week or 2 weeks, or we'll get you on the show sometime soon, I'm sure.
And I think your Hokies can beat the Irish, so let's see it.
Yeah, me too. I'm trying to get tickets, but they're $200 right now. So it's a pain in the ass.
Oh, so we'll have to wait and see. All right, my man. Have yourself a good night.
Yeah, same to you guys. Have a good night. Bye.
All right, so we got a guy from Washington call. We got a guy from Illinois. Oh, that's right, 2 from Washington call. We got Illinois, and we got, I assume he's from Virginia. I don't think we got exactly where he was from, but we'll assume Virginia. Guys, it is time for the pickups now. So, Brady, you can officially cue that music.
I didn't get to hear. What were the standings?
I'm just getting to the standings right now, but I got to hear that music. I'm missing the music. I need myself the music. Now, really quickly, guys, all of Brady's picks, BV. All the picks he makes are going to go towards Lyle's picks. As Lyle's not here, of course, we're not going to have him get 0, so we're going to be nice, give him BV's points. So BV, these points are for Lyle, bud.
He's going to deliberately get 0 this week.
All right, so now quickly, guys, the standings. And we're getting another call.
I'm not going to answer.
I'm sorry. If you're calling right now, we just don't have enough time. Send me a Twitter DM, and we'll make sure to get you on the show next week. In last place with 16 points is not me. It's actually our executive producer, Brady Klein. He had a bad week. He is now in last place. He's doing it for himself. Up next with 18 points is yours truly. 18. We have a tie for first place, guys. Josh and Lyle are officially tied with 19 points. So, BV, this is going to be a crucial week for you, bro. This is going to be a very crucial week.
All I heard was that I was in last and I had to answer the phone. Am I in last?
You're in last.
What's the scoring update? Sorry, I'm juggling
You
phone
have
lines.
16, I have 18, Lyle and Josh both have 19.
By the way, I just wanted to let you know that someone just called in, their name was Brady, so we would have had 3 Bradys on the show at once.
Bro, you should have took it.
I know.
That's unfortunate. Brady, if you're listening right now, I do apologize. Call in next week. We'll get you on. Also, once again, Go Ducks Edits tweeted out the show. He misses the bells. We need to bring back those church bells before we do the pick'ems. But guys, we are running a little low on time, and the Dodgers just hit a walk-off home run. Chris Taylor, we are now a game and a half in first place. I'm sorry, but that's awesome. Go Dodgers! I'm repping my Los Angeles Dodgers shirt right now. That is fantastic news.
How many days have you guys been in first place now?
They're bringing out the Gatorade right now. They're bringing out the Gatorade. Everyone's having a good time. But guys, it has been a very long show, so we got to kind of speed up these pick'ems. We have 11 games to get to this week, so if you want to give a quick little explanation, go for it. If not, just say who your pick is going to be. All right, guys, starting things off, we have Florida Atlantic and UCF.
Taking Central Florida with Mackenzie Milton. Sorry, Lane.
UCF.
I'm going to go with UCF as well. Clean sweep, but don't sleep on Lane Kiffin. Don't sleep on Lane Kiffin. Now, here we go, guys. The rematch. Washington State at USC this Friday night. Now, I think Josh mentioned earlier, I don't know what he said. If this game was on the road for Friday night, I wouldn't even have to think twice about this. USC lost. It is at home. It is at home, so that does help them out a bit. But it is still Washington State who's undefeated on the season.
Yeah. T. Martin, call better plays.
And I think he will. I'll take USC simply because this game is at home.
Like Blake just said, like I touched on earlier, if this game is at Martin Stadium, it's an easy Cougars win. But I'm going to take USC at home. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt for the second week in a row.
Southern California.
If T. Martin doesn't call better plays,
you're fired.
But I think USC is gonna. So,
oh my goodness,
I'm having fun with this, dude. I've been on the phone too much tonight. I'm going USC in this game.
BK's having way too much fun with this. USC is they have not looked good early on. Washington State, they are undefeated. And I did mention it is a Friday night game, which is scary. Although it is at home.
It's at home. If it was at Wazoo, though.
I'm going with Washington State in this one. Washington State. I've been watching highlights from their games. This is a team that's not getting talked about enough in the Pac-12.
Very underrated.
They're looking good. I don't know if they're better than last year because they kind of peaked last year after that USC win, then they kind of just shriveled down a bit. This is a Washington State team that I think if they win this week, they're going to find themselves ranked in the top 25. I don't know, but I'm like I said, I'm going for points. I'm going to go with the Cougars in this one. Nebraska at number 19, Michigan.
I have to take Michigan in this one. I think that they've been able to bounce back a little bit since week 1, and I just can't pick Nebraska at the moment. I'm going to go with the Wolverines.
Not Nebraska.
I'm going Michigan. I hate to pick Michigan, but I'm going Michigan.
I'm going Michigan as well, and Michigan in this game is favored by like 25 points. It's a big one. Nebraska's going to start 0-3 under Scott Frost. Is he going to be on the hot seat soon? Who knows? Also,
he's going to win Coach of the Year in the Big Ten.
Also, really quickly, the Brady that just tried calling in is a Boston Red Sox fan.
Oh.
Was it you that just tried calling in?
No, I'm playing Pokemon Go.
Yeah, you're still playing Pokemon Go. Who knows why?
I have my picks right here.
Number 22, Texas A&M at number 1, Alabama.
Got to take Bama. There's no question about it. I think A&M will compete, same way they did with Clemson, but I'm going with the Tide.
Roll Tide, quote, Chase Williams.
Roll Tide, Bama.
I'm excited to see how Kellen Mond plays in this game. I think he's going to put up some good numbers, but I got to go with Alabama in this one. Number 17, TCU at Texas.
I'm going to take TCU. I think that they were able to compete last week with Ohio State. I think Ohio State was simply the better team. And like Brady said, they kind of fell apart in the middle of that third quarter. I don't think Texas is that good. I just think USC is that bad. I'm going to go with TCU.
I think it would be harder to battle 100 Horned Frogs than one Longhorn, so TCU.
We usually save our random reasoning for worst of the worst, but I like that there, BV. I'm going TCU. Back on the train from last year, guys.
After this week, Texas will officially be back, folks. They're taking the upset, the win at home. They're beating TCU. They're back. Number 14, Mississippi State at Kentucky. Don't sleep on Kentucky, guys. They're currently undefeated in the SEC.
Don't sleep on Kentucky. I think that was one of our questions on
They're
Twitter.
a football school.
Yes, I think there was a question on Twitter that we didn't get to that was saying, is Kentucky back, or do some of these other teams, or are they just really bad? I don't think Kentucky's back. I don't think they're a really dominant team. I'm going to take Mississippi State over the Wildcats. Go Bulldogs.
Benny Snell in Kentucky.
Nick Fitzgerald got me 51 fantasy points last week. That was more than my opponent's whole team. I'm going Mississippi State.
You guys still all suck at fantasy.
Not me.
I put up 170 points this week.
I'm the only one undefeated in this room right now.
You need to relax.
Oh.
Benny Snell, Heisman sleeper to the max. Very underrated running back at Kentucky. I like that BV mentioned it. Hot take right there. However, I am going to go with Mississippi State. Nick Fitzgerald, he's going to ride the hot hand. 51 fantasy points? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, boy.
Oh, man. That's more points
He
than
had
Sean.
6 total
That's
touchdowns.
more points than Sean, your opponent,
Sean,
scored.
my opponent, had 47 points.
You hate to see it. Now this...
No, I didn't.
Now this one, they're both 2-1, but this is just a game you hear and you go, Florida at Tennessee.
I'm going with the checkered end zones. I'm going with the orange and white. I'm going with Rocky Top over Florida.
I hate everything that's involved with Tim Tebow, so Tennessee.
Wow. I'm going to go Florida. Because, why not?
I love it. Next year, Tennessee will be hosting 2018 FCS champion Chattanooga Mocs. That's going to be the FCS or the SEC team Chattanooga travels to next year. So for that very reason, I'm going to go with Tennessee in this game. Number 7, Stanford, and number 20, Oregon. College game day this week.
I like Stanford. I got to go with the Cardinal in this one. I think Herbert puts up a fight. He needs to win this game if he wants any chance to stay in the Heisman race. Sorry, Bradeth. Actually, I usually call him Bradeth.
I'm Bradeth.
Okay, well, he's
You usually call me Beeve.
You're Beaver.
I do call you Beeves. Beeves aren't playing in this game, but I'm going to take Stanford.
37-34, Ducks, Justin Herbert, 4 total touchdowns.
Oh, he's giving us a hot take prediction right there.
Specific. I'm going to go with Stanford. Bryce Love is back. Didn't play last week.
Do
got
we know
hurt
what
the
his
week
injury
before.
was?
It was an undisclosed injury.
Interesting.
He was walking off the field. He walked off fine. I'm guessing it's a concussion or something like that, but...
It was a toe.
Was it?
Nah, that's just my guess.
Oh, okay. Bryce Love's back. I'm going Stanford in this game.
I'm going Oregon. I like them at home. I think they're going to put up points. I think they win by at least 2 touchdowns. There's my hot take. Number 18, Wisconsin at Iowa. Guys, this game is at night, which means it's going to be tough for Wisconsin. We know about these Iowa night games where Big Ten teams come in.
There's something special about them.
It's one of those things.
Very close game. I think Wisconsin is the better team, and I think Iowa keeps it close. But I had mac and cheese today, and we all know where cheese comes from. I'm going with Scotty and the bounce-back win.
You've called them Scotty every single time you've referred to them in today's show.
I have.
Iowa actually has the 2nd-ranked run defense. They're going to limit Jonathan Taylor, and I don't trust Alex Hornibrook on the road to win them a game. Go Iowa.
Iowa at home at night. That's just a recipe for disaster for Wisconsin. Scotty, as Josh calls it. I'm going Iowa at home this game.
I'm going Iowa as well. Now, guys, this is our worst of the worst, and this worst of the worst is kind of fun because it was actually suggested by a fan. Now, it was. I think it was in the Q&As. It was somewhere. I'm sorry, I can't remember who exactly it was that suggested this, but I found it, and this is going to be the worst of the worst. It's going to be the battle of the winless teams this week. It's our first worst of the worst aside from week 1 where both teams were winless. New Mexico State at UTEP.
I am a big Jake Meyer guy, big Keelan Doss guy. Love my UC Davis Aggies. Go Ags. So I'm taking the New Mexico State Aggies.
UTEP because El Paso wins for worst city in America.
Ooh, I hope we have no one from El Paso listening this week.
And if we do, call in next week and defend why El Paso's at least a decent city.
Bingo.
I won't be here, so it doesn't matter.
We'll bring you back soon enough. Let's go... Coin toss. Didn't even flip a coin. I'm going UTEP. I did Siri.
I love it. I'm going UTEP just because they're at home, which does bring us to the final game of the week, Arizona State at number 10 Washington. A lot of friends are going to be at the game. Josh and I will be watching at home. Hey, you can come over and watch if you'd like to.
Thanks, man.
Of course.
I'll be there.
Please don't.
Hey, I'm going to watch the game in your room.
In his bed.
Tucked in underneath the covers of your bed. Guys, I'd love to take ASU in this game. I think they'll compete. I think with the way they played last week and even with the way that the game ended, this is a team that I thought was going to be 3-0 after this Michigan State game, and I thought their first loss would come at Washington. I think they're 2-2 after this week. I got to take UW.
Washington by 28 points at least.
Ooh, wow. I'm taking UW. Yeah. I really have no reasoning behind this. I just don't think ASU... Yes, they're going to compete in this game, but it'll be 3/4 of competition, 1/4 of pure domination.
I mean, I said weeks ago this game wasn't going to be pretty. I think with them losing to San Diego State, this absolutely is going to be worse than it would have been had they won against San Diego State. I think Washington gets the job done. But hey, go Devils. The uniforms look nice. We'll be rooting for you. Well, Josh and I will be rooting. I don't know if those guys can root because of, FXU.
I don't root because of ethics.
I'm just a photographer. Nothing really matters for me.
Hey, just don't get hit by Nikhil this week.
We need to talk about that, Nikhil.
Yes, we do. All right, guys, but that does wrap up this episode of the Harris Highlight Show. Thank you so much for listening this week. Thank you, Brady, for filling in on such short notice. You did a very good job, especially rocking that authentic Cam Newton jersey.
Yeah, it was all right.
Authentic.
There's stitching on it.
That's all that matters, I guess.
China.
Hey, it costs like $20. That's what matters. But guys, as always, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, make sure to follow us on Twitter at the HHShow_, because if you're like the lucky fans that were listening, you can call in live and talk to us or interact with us on Twitter. We had some fans that didn't even call in, like Go Duck Edits. He's still tweeting at us.
Yeah, he tweeted at us, yeah.
I was going to say he tweeted at Josh and Brady. I guess you guys had some hot take that he didn't like.
He did the Jonah Hill,
he disagreed with it. So if you guys want to interact with us, make sure to follow us on Twitter at Brady, the Brady that didn't get to call in. Make sure you call in next week so we can get you on. Sorry we ran out of time. Also, one final plug. Make sure to go online and get your Ridge wallet. It's very nice. I mean, I forgot I had it this whole time because it was so light in my pocket.
There you go.
It was so light in my pocket. Make sure you guys check it out. The link will be in the description as well. Sign up for our Pick'ems League. That's still going on. I was going to say it for our Fantasy League, but you can't do that anymore. Lyle's going to be back next week, hopefully. Guys, have an amazing time in Washington this week. For Josh Schaefer, Brady Vernon, Brady Klain, this was Blake Harris from the Bill Austin Radio Studio at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication in beautiful downtown Phoenix. And we'll see you guys next week.